Hello, I am George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here for WNK, and we got a lot to talk about today. A few changes to our forecast. Overall, pretty similar to what we discussed last night, but a few changes that we need to give to you guys. As of course, as you're coming in, make sure you're saying hello in the chat so I can say hi to you guys. Obviously, if you're a veteran here, I'm going to ask you to hit that share button at the bottom portion of your screen. You can tap that share button and put this on your news feed so your friends and family can view it as well. They can get informed on up to date on the exact timing of what to expect things. Ashley says, watching from work in hopes I can leave early. Ashley, hope I can deliver that for you. Amber, hello over there on YouTube. I appreciate that. Cal, what's going on, my man? Crystal, good afternoon to you, or good morning if you're in the central time zone. Haley, hello, how are you doing? Carol, hello from Monticello. Man, y'all set a record down there the other night. Howdy from Northern Pulaski County. Jonathan, how are you doing? Hello from Louisville, Amber. How are you? Robbie, hello. Hope you're feeling better. Wishing for snow. Kim, hello. Thank you for that, by the way. Thank you. Yes, I do sound better. Thank you guys for all the shares. I'm starting to see them go up. You know, Linda, Jennifer, Don, Kim, Betty. There's so many flying through. Thank you guys a lot for helping out with that. Jerry, what's going on, my man? Hi, George. Thank you for keeping us updated on YouTube. Thank you so much. Deb, hello. How are you doing? Hope you're feeling better. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I am starting to feel better. I could tell it's on its way out. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I know there was some RSV going around a couple of family houses. Not sure if that's what it was or not. But I do know that I am feeling a little bit better. The energy is still kind of down, but hey, we're pushing through. We're pushing through. We're getting there. Corey, hello on YouTube. We're going to give it about 30 more seconds. A lot of folks to have enough time to get in here. Of course, in the meantime, if you are just now tuning in and missed our intro, I am George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here for WNK. We do have an ice and snow threat to talk about that. It starts here in a few hours and goes into the Friday morning time frame. We'll go through all of those details. We do have a new snowfall map to display to you guys. We do have an ice map to show to you guys as well. Of course, as you're coming in, please tap the share button at the bottom portion of your screen. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'd like to get this information out to as many folks as possible. So if you could help us with that by tapping the share button, get it onto your news feed so your friends and family can view it as well. I would appreciate that. I'm sure they would appreciate that too. Thank you all so much with your help on that. Linda on YouTube says hi from Shelbyville. Wayne, hello on Facebook. Hello to everyone. Vicky says hello. Jeffrey, thank you for sharing. Denise, Trinity, Kimberly, Victoria, all those folks, everyone else that I missed as well. Thank you guys for helping us share the video out. Hello from Butler County. Nita, hello. How are you doing? Lisa, thank you for tagging your friends. I appreciate that, as well as Devin. Thank you so much. Greetings from the home of the next Kentucky Buc-ee's, Smith's Grove. I've never been to Buc-ee's, but I've seen a lot of cool videos from there. Thank you guys for all your help with sharing the video. I appreciate that a lot. Elizabeth, hello from Brandenburg. How are you doing out there? I'll take all the snow at my house in Nelson County. That's exactly how I'm a big snow lover, guys. If for some reason you couldn't tell, but I do my best to take the bias out. Is it summer yet? Aaliyah, I hope not. That would be really weird, especially since we're about to get a reinforcement of the Arctic front. I'll talk about that as well. Kathy, hello from Grayson County. Hello from Louisville. How are you doing out there? Hello from E-Town. Okay. Our shares are going up there. Our hearts are coming across the screen. I also see some angry faces. I understand that as well. I appreciate everyone helping us out with everything. So let's go ahead and get this stuff started here. So first I want to show you, let me pull it out to the right screen here. There was something that occurred this morning that was a little bit different than what the data indicated. So I'm going to roll this on through. It was actually, a lot of you didn't see it, but it was actually snowing in Kentucky. A lot of Kentucky, by the way, this morning. I did see some reports out here in Western Kentucky of a brief mix and sleet, especially back toward Missouri. But other than that, nothing reached the ground. But I'm going to put this into motion here for you. So this is all the way back to 8:30 in the morning. I want to put this into motion to show you, snow did make its way across Kentucky. Now it's starting to show a little bit of a mix popping up. It's showing green rain. That's just not the case. It's too cold for that. But also, I do want to put out there before we get into the data on what to expect. Radars are undergoing updates today. Which means we have to rely on the national radar, which is not as high resolution. So it's going to lead to some miscalculations on things. I'm going to put a post out on Facebook, and I'm going to pin a tweet on our Twitter, which if you're not following us on Twitter, it's at WeatherNowKY there. I want you to be able to give me your reports as they come in. Feel free to comment on it throughout the entire day, update as many times. I want you to know when we put out posts and tweets like that, we really do go through them, and we do look at all of your reports. So especially on a day like today where radars aren't really going to be as dependable and we're dealing with several different precipitation types, if you guys could send those reports in on those comment sections, I would be really grateful for that. So that's kind of what occurred this morning. It actually snowed in a lot of Kentucky, but it didn't reach the ground. And the reason for that is the Arctic air that we're dealing with, that we dealt with for the last 5 or 6 days, really dried out our atmosphere. So it's going to take a little bit of some evaporation to occur to allow the precipitation to reach the ground. I also want to show you real quickly just the current temperatures that we're dealing with. Upper 20s, even lower 30s showing up for some folks, and even an above freezing reading over here for Johnson County and Paintsville. And there's a reason for that, and we'll dive into that. Before I get into the actual model data and show you our new forecast, I do got to take care of a little bit of business. So if you wouldn't mind listening to these messages from our sponsors, we'll start with Right Implement. But I'm going to actually mute their ad because they have copyrighted video, and I'll just talk over it here. They have some great snow equipment, great spring equipment they're going to need coming up. Make sure you go visit them. They have 15 locations throughout Kentuckiana. I personally can tell you they have some of the best customer service because they didn't even try to sell me whenever I was in the market for a new generator a couple weeks ago. They just basically told me I already had a good one. You don't need to spend any extra money, which I thought was really great because usually companies will push you and push you and push you, but Right Implement's just awesome, and they have a great team of people out there, multiple locations to choose from, so thank you to them. Box Drop Bar Sound, I'm going to mute their audio as well, just because I think I can tell you a little bit more about them. 30 to 80% off of retail for mattresses. Also, if you purchase that mattress on sale, by the way, you get a free pillow when you mention W&K. A great company there at Barstown. Shop local. Phenomenal people. They're some of the sweetest people, honestly. So that's Box Drop Barstown and Barstown. And here soon they're going to have their contact info on the screen for you. Again, I'm just taking care of a little bit of business real quick, and then we'll hop into all the information. I hope you guys respect this time and try to support our partners because they give me the ability to be here with you guys 100% of the time. And our last one is a brand new one, Rock Festival. This thing is a blast, guys, if you've never been. As the Rock Music Festival continues to unveil its lineups, audiences can anticipate more announcements that further showcase its dedication to presenting the best in bluegrass and roots music. This stellar lineup promises to deliver an electric mix of traditional and contemporary bluegrass, ensuring a musical experience that appeals to fans of all ages, again, all ages, and taste. Festival goers can look forward to soul-stirring performances, virtuosic instrumentals, and harmonies that resonate deep within the heart. Tickets are on sale now at rompfest.com. Again, that is rompfest.com. And thank you guys for allowing me to have the ability to do that. And that gives us the financials to be able to do all this for you guys. So if you're just out tuning in, we have not covered any real data just yet. I wanted to take care of the business first. And now we can focus all on the forecast. I'm going to take a drink of water real quick. If you hear me huffing and puffing a little bit more, it's just trying to get the air through. Still trying. I'm feeling better, but I'm still trying to get over it. So I'm going to zoom this out to the national view. This is going to look absolutely wild on your screen. But I want to start with national view, and then we'll zoom into the regional view, and then we'll zoom into the local view so we can get the exact timing. But I want to start with the generic outlook so we can just kind of understand what is occurring across this event that we're seeing. So what we're dealing with is two separate branches of energy. Basically, this one from the south actually pulling up Gulf moisture and Gulf warmth, where my circle is right there. And then we have a clipper diving in from the Canadian portion of the area, and that's going to actually dive in and meet this system at some point. Where it meets and phases, it's a little bit unknown still because we're dealing with those types of dynamics. It really don't kind of sort themselves out until you get right on top of the event. But I will tell you that data has trended a bit faster for the phase to occur. And if you're a snow lover, that's really what you're rooting for. Now, again, it's still not a real what we call bang event, but it's a little bit faster and allows for it to get a little bit more impressive for some folks. So overall, again, watch that clipper come down from the north there. And then you have the shortwave right here as well. And then eventually they'll phase together and you'll start to see the gap in the precip. It'll start to fill in as it heads north and east. So that's kind of the overall look at what we're doing there. That's where everything is really coming from. Real quickly, before I go into the regional view, I want to show you that about 5,000 feet above our head, there's actually going to be a warm nose that just nudges its way in. You can see it coming down that Kentucky-Tennessee border there. This green and yellow, that's your above freezing. This blue and white, that is your below freezing. And those two are going to kind of meet up. But because that warm nose is nudging its way in, that's how we're getting the ability to have freezing drizzle and perhaps some sleet show up today as well. And then, of course, actually, I want to show you one more time. And then, of course, on the back side of that, the Arctic air just eventually wins, and you can see it just shove it right out of here like Muhammad Ali back in the day. It's going to beat it up. So now I'm going to go into more of the regional look here to show you, if I can click on it. We don't want to go to Mexico. We want to go to the United States. There we go. So more of a regional look here, and then we'll zoom in quickly to the local view so that you can see the timing a little bit better. Let's go ahead and push this on forward here. You can see that southern branch gets going here, probably about 2 to 4 hours. And it's going to start off as a mix, maybe some snow, maybe some sleet, and more freezing rain than anything. And then it's going to kind of stall out for a minute and then lift up to the north. It's going to throw snow on the northern side of it. A mix in between. Your purple right there is kind of your mix. Your red or pink, whatever you want to call it, is kind of your freezing rain. And then your blue is your snow. And, of course, the deeper those colors are, the heavier it is indicating that it's falling. Sorry. And I see a lot of your questions and comments. Don't worry, I will have a little bit of a Q&A toward the end of the video. If you really pay close attention, I'll probably answer your question throughout this little segment. So, as I push this on forward here, you can see the kind of stalls in central Kentucky. It has lots of precip it's trying to deal with, and I think when you're talking about model data trying to handle an Arctic front coming from the northwest at the same time as Gulf moisture coming from the south central, and it's trying to determine the exact precipitation type, it can struggle quite a bit. For example, what I want to show you is I'll click on this little purple-blue area up here toward the Danville-Lexington area. Now, this looks absolutely crazy, I know, but what you're wanting to really pay attention to is this red and green line. Let me make sure you can see it. Yeah, you can. What you really want to pay attention to is the left side over here, the red and the green line. These are your temperature and dew point lines. And then this is your bottom, this is your surface. This is where we're at the ground right here, all the way at the bottom. And then as you go up, you're going up into the atmosphere. So this is at the surface. This is about 5,000 feet up. This is about 10,000 feet up, so on and so forth. This blue line right here indicates your freezing line. As you can see, it's labeled with a 0. And what you want, if you're looking for snowfall or frozen precipitation, is for both of these green and red lines to be on the left side of that blue freezing line, which we do see. Now, something else we want to note as well is that the snowflake actually starts around the 800 millibar level, which is actually pretty low for a snow or any system really to start. And then eventually, as we progress throughout the afternoon and evening, we'll start seeing those clouds and stuff raise up higher and higher and higher. And that lets us know that the frozen layer is scooting up higher and higher and higher. And there we can actually get a better chance at some snowfall. But when it's starting this low to the ground, it can be a little bit more, sleet, freezing rain, snow, all mixed into one, really. Now, this specific sounding for Danville, remember, it was purple on the actual reflectivity, which indicates a mix. However, for this, it's actually frozen the entire time, so I would actually believe this is a snowflake, which just goes to show you that model data is still kind of struggling a little bit with the exact precipitation type, which is why we've delayed our forecast release so long, is because really when you're dealing with a phasing system of 2 different types of temperatures, 2 different types of moisture profiles, it can throw a lot of curveballs at you real fast. So even though we have a forecast ready and it's only 3 or 4 hours away from the start time, I do want to tell you real quickly before we show you those forecasts, this can very easily continue to change, just like it's evolved over the last 12 to 16 hours. So overall, that will lift out to the northeast. You can see the low pressure starts to get going. That will actually lift out to the east and then north. And then as it does that, it'll try to connect itself back to this clipper system and fill in the gaps in dry air. Now, as it's doing that, what I want you to see, and I'm actually going to zoom into the local view for this, what I want you to see is that as that is occurring, that phase is occurring, some dry slots are going to set up. So you can see all these backwards seas, if you will. So you have like one right up here toward Bloomington. You have one over here toward Evansville a little bit. You have a big one over here toward the Ohio River. Another big one right here toward the Western Kentucky Parkways areas. And what that's going to do is obviously cut down on your precip totals if you're on the dry slot side of that thing. But if you're on the wet side of it, it will increase it because it'll be a little bit heavier. So you can see the real darks starting to show up, like dark red, dark blue starting to show up, dark purple starting to show up as well. Heavier precip is moving its way in because a dry spot is occurring, so it's throwing the moisture on the other side of it. And I'm sorry if you hear my dog barking. I think our groceries just got here, and he's just going absolutely crazy out there. But as we push this on forward to the northeast here, you can see snowfall continues on. And now this model can't see the entire system. As you look into the top left corner of your screen there, you can see it only sees to about 3 a.m. I do think snowfall continues into about lunchtime tomorrow, on Friday. Light snow flurries and light snow showers can occur all the way up until then in separate waves. But I want to pull this back and show you the timing once more on everything. So 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can see it's starting to get going down there in western Tennessee. If I pull up the radar, it does show that as well. It's a little bit delayed. This is probably... I probably need to refresh this radar, but it's a little bit delayed. However, as we push this on forward to 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., you can see now it's starting to approach that South Kentucky, Tennessee border. And then once we get closer to 2 to 3 p.m., you can start seeing it begin to lift to the north. And that's why we've told folks, hey, you might want to be off the roads 4 p.m. Eastern time at the absolute latest, especially if you're traveling along I-65 or anywhere in central or southern Kentucky or even western Kentucky or even that far southeastern corner. If you're in northern Kentucky like Lexington, Louisville, Florence, places up there to the northern side, you have a little bit more time to play with. But if you're traveling along I-65 or you're in the heart of Kentucky or if you're in, that southern side of things, you might want to be off the road about 4 p.m. Eastern time because remember, even though we're a little bit warmer at the surface here, the grounds are a little bit colder still. I mean, actually, they're far colder. They're still well below freezing. So anything that falls, even if it looks like it's plain rain, is going to freeze on contact. We've been dealing with a snowpack on the ground, whether it's been thin or heavy, depending upon where you're at. There's been a snowpack on the ground. Heck, Monticello went all the way to negative 22 degrees 24 hours ago? Something like that, maybe like 18 hours ago. So we really still have a lot of frozen surfaces to deal with here. One of my biggest concerns today is that at some point, the freezing rain is going to turn into freezing drizzle for some folks. And that has a better chance of sticking to higher surfaces like power lines, tree limbs, and stuff like that. Usually what you're rooting for when you're dealing with freezing rain is actually you really want it to be really heavy. So it has more weight to the raindrop and allow it just to pass through everything elevated and just go down to the surface. When you're dealing with freezing drizzle, obviously it's lighter, it weighs less, and it can stick to objects a lot better. Almost like if you go outside in the morning and you see dew sticking to things, that's kind of how freezing drizzle works as well. So what you want to root for is that if you do see freezing rain, you want it to be real heavy and not light. So as I push this on forward to 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Eastern time, now we're into the rush hour. Precip really starts to get going along the I-65 corridor, places in west central Kentucky. Of course, down in Bowling Green, it's a full-on freezing rain effect down there. At that point, maybe some sleet mixing in. And then as this lifts to the north here, you'll see that it starts to throw the precip up toward the northern side, closer to Lexington, but not quite reaching that area. Heavier snows and sleets probably going on just south of that and in between these two areas. As this pushes on forward to 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., you can see now it's beginning to try and reach the precip shield back. This is a very questionable time frame. So from 8 p.m. tonight, Eastern time that is, to about 11 p.m. Eastern time, it's a very questionable time frame. Can it throw the precip shield all the way back toward that clipper system and allow them to connect? If not, it really cuts down on precip totals altogether. Talking about snow, ice, and sleet. All those precip totals will really cut them down. If it connects it sooner and has an efficient connection, you're talking about increasing the snowfall total. So that's why I'm telling you guys, we have a forecast ready, but it can easily change depending upon the timing of the phasing occurring. As I push this on forward here, you'll see it kind of lifts off the north portion of Kentucky. As it phases, precip is going to get really hard. I really have doubts. This is showing a full-on freezing rainstorm in northern Hardin County and southern Jefferson and Bullitt counties. But when I click on the sounding, once again, it's all to the left of the freezing line, so I don't expect any melting to occur. It starts around the 550 millibar layer, which is all the way up here. It does have a small dry slot to go through, and then it reproduces again. So, in my opinion, this would either be a sleet pellet or a snowflake or a mix of the two. I really don't think this is freezing rain at this point for northern Hardin County. Again, this is around the 9 p.m. Central time, 10 p.m. Eastern time frame. And again, that just goes to show you, I think models are still struggling with the idea of dealing with Arctic air entering a warm, moist atmosphere. There's a lot of temperature swings happening at different layers of the atmosphere, and I just really think models are really struggling. Even our very best higher resolution models, I think they're struggling quite a bit with trying to figure out the exact precip type with this system. As I push us on forward toward the midnight time frame, you can see snow ongoing out eastern Kentucky, pretty heavier snow, or moderate snow I should say, for that portion of the area. Some lighter snow starting to fill in for this central Kentucky portion of the area. Also want you to note between 3 to 11 p.m. if you see snowfall, it'll be the big, wet, heavy flakes that stick really well. You can make great snowmen out of them. They are great for sledding. They're also very slick on the roads. And again, those roads and our surface is still below freezing. Once we get to about midnight, you'll see a transition to a much lighter, much more fluffier snow, a lot like what we had back last Tuesday. Not quite as fine, but approaching that level. And then as we push this on forward here, you can see constant snow showers for basically the northern half of Kentucky. Southern Kentucky really misses out, I think, on the precip shield. I don't think it quite reaches down there. And again, I do think it continues to snow off and on up until about lunch tomorrow. This model, however, can only go out to 3 a.m. So if that takes you from now to 3 a.m., let's go ahead and look at our forecast real quick. First, let's look at the ice accumulation forecast. No changes to this. I've not made any changes to this since yesterday. I think this is still pretty on par with what we're expecting. Up to about 0.15 inches down in southern Kentucky. By the way, if you were curious, an ice storm warning has to be a 1/4 inch or higher. So this does not quite reach that ice storm technical level. But still, when you're talking about 1/10 to maybe 2/10 of an inch of ice, you're talking about a thin glaze on layers. With a little bit of snow on top of that, it creates a really slick surface. So that's why we have a bit of concern for folks down there towards southern Kentucky. Just north of that, places like Paducah, Madisonville, Litchfield, Elizabethtown, Danville. We're not really expecting a whole lot of ice for you. More up toward like a very thin glaze of about 1/2 of an inch. Now, this ice shield could go a little bit further north, so I know a lot of you are going to ask, can this shift? It absolutely can. It really all depends on how far north that warm nose comes that we showed you about 10 minutes ago. We'll just have to wait and see on that. Model data is really struggling with that, in my opinion. But overall, that's our ice accumulation forecast. Let's go ahead and take a look at our snowfall accumulation forecast. This has changed a little bit since last night. Not a lot. Still trying to figure out where that dry slot is. I do think a trace to a dusting is possible for at least all of Kentucky. Now, again, just exactly that timing on that phasing that we talked about is really going to determine a lot of things. But I do think a trace to a dusting is possible for a lot of folks. If you're in extreme western Kentucky, like let's say Paducah, Murray, Mayfield, I don't think you're really going to see any snow at all. Places like Owensboro to Morganfield, probably a trace to a dusting is likely. Bowling Green, it's all going to depend upon when you switch over from freezing rain to sleet to if you see any snow at all. If you start seeing hours and hours of sleet, you're probably not going to see any snow at all. Also want to make it real clear here, this is not just a snow accumulation forecast. This is a snow and sleet accumulation forecast because we do expect some sleet to mix in initially before we go all over to snow. For that blue area, you'll see a dusting to 2 inches. I don't really like to do that. I don't like to go all the way from a dusting all the way to 2 inches. I like to at least try to do 1 to 2 inches. But I do think some spots underachieve because of a dry slot occurring. You can kind of see that, how we have it shaped right there. And I do think some spots in that same area are capable of going all the way up to 2, maybe even 3 inches, depending upon how the system phases. The absolute best shot at snow is, of course, once again, our friends in eastern Kentucky, Ashland to Pikeville to Harlan to Moorhead, maybe to Lexington as well. Some small spots within that purple area will get up to 4 inches. Again, depends on exact phasing of where that's going to set up. So that's our overall snowfall and sleet accumulation forecast. Again, precip starts around 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Thursday. And I do think that light snow at least continues all the way until Friday around lunchtime. Man, that was a lot of stuff to get through. By the way, there's a lot of hearts and angry faces on the stream. If you guys are really excited or mad about this, make sure you leave a reaction on the Facebook stream. I always like to go through those and just kind of see what everyone's feeling like. Thank you guys a lot for all the shares on Facebook. I appreciate that as well. All the viewers and new subscribers on YouTube, Thank you all for helping us with our goals over there. Our YouTube is really cranking up, really cranking up. So thank you so much for that. I will answer a few questions right now, and then I'm going to hop back into the model data and go look at that. Christine says it's sleeting in Hopkinsville already. Thank you for that report there. I appreciate that. Keaton, I think a good mix is possible in Hodgenville throughout tonight going into tomorrow morning. Will the ice accumulation with the snow be a concern for power outages? Lisa, it all depends on how exactly hard that precipitation is falling. If it's a very light freezing drizzle, power outages become a concern because it's heavier on power lines. If it's a really heavy freezing rain, I don't really have too much of a concern, but we'll have to wait and see how that sets up, unfortunately. Corey, hello over there. He says, where are you located? I am in the northern side of Hardin County, so I'm in Radcliffe. If you are asking about specific locations of specific accumulations, please just refer to the map. I usually take the time to answer those, but I have to start transitioning out of that because we make all these maps and everything, and I really got to get back toward looking at the new data. So if you're asking about specific timings and everything, once again, we just went through all that information, so you can go back and look at that. If you're asking about specific amounts for specific towns and zip codes, I'm not going to be able to do that because, once again, we're talking about a system that has a lot of dynamics, guys. So a lot of minute changes can occur, and we need to just put a general forecast out, not very, very specific, because, once again, we're looking at a possibility of a lot of changes occurring as this event goes on. We're going to be nowcasting it, which means we're going to start looking at models as much and start looking more at what's currently occurring and start to project it for ourselves, because I just don't think models are handling this all that accurately. Yeah, so Ivy, she says, what was said about the warm nose thing? So with that first wave that comes in around 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to push a little bit of warm air up with it because it's coming from the Gulf of Mexico. So it'll still technically be below freezing for most folks at the surface, but above our head, about 5,000 feet up, it's actually briefly going to go above freezing, which is how we end up with the freezing rain threat instead of an all snow threat. Eventually, that warm nose will back off and the Arctic air will start to win out and we'll go over to an all snow threat. But it all just depends on the location of that and the timing at which the Arctic air eventually wins out. Saturday at 4 would you reschedule? Aaron, Saturday at 4 should be okay. I feel like the road should be better by then because the salt and the brine should be able to work a little bit. I will tell you guys, we have a reinforcement of the Arctic front occurring. That's what all this is from. So I do believe Saturday morning, we will actually have a great shot, depending on where the best of the snow sets up. I have a great shot of going back into the single digits and possibly close to 0 or negative in some places. So I do expect, Aaron, some refreezing to occur on Saturday, but roads should be mostly fine by Saturday. I would assume anyway. Hang on, chat. I'm taking care of a immature person on YouTube. We'll put him in timeout for 30 minutes. Will the roads be good in the morning, Keaton? I think we're talking about some really hazardous travel conditions for Friday morning. I do expect that a lot of schools will close once again on Friday morning. I do expect that some schools might release a little bit early today, depending upon where you're at. And I don't know exactly how the school systems work down there in the southern portion of Kentucky. But I think we can see a lot of school closures tomorrow morning. I also just really recommend not traveling tomorrow morning altogether. We're talking about rain to snow and temperatures crashing down overnight going into tomorrow morning. I think the roads are going to be pretty tough to travel on. So I really would advise against travel tomorrow morning if you can. Ask your boss to work from home. I know that's not an option for a lot of folks, but if it is an option, just be safe. Just be safe and try to keep it home tomorrow. The less people that are on the roads, the more the salt crews and the brine crews can get to work and have more effect and not have to worry about going in and out of people. And let's face it, there are a lot of idiot drivers out there as well. We all know a couple. So the less that we're in their way, the more faster they can get the roads to clean up. By the way, I want to thank Bridget for the 25 stars earlier. I missed these. Thank you so much. And Anita with the 20 stars as well. Thank you so much for your star donations. If you guys didn't know, stars are kind of a way you can donate a little bit to us over here at WNK. We get every single cent of that. Facebook does not take a share. Moore County has been on NTI since Tuesday. Don't foresee in-person school tomorrow either. Yeah, I mean, if they're in NTI since Tuesday, they're probably not going to go to school tomorrow either. But now he had to go. That's the worst, Brittany. When you're a kid and everyone around you is closed, and then you see that your school system is open. That's the absolute worst. I feel for the little guy. Or for the little kids. I'm sorry. I thought you said boy. I'm sorry. Okay, I think we're good there. A lot of the questions are starting to slow down now. We had a lot of great information in this video, so if you are just now tuning in, you can watch this video on playback whenever you want at your convenience. It will be published on our YouTube and Facebook over the next few minutes, so you can watch it at your convenience there. A lot of great information here. We'll also make a written post probably here in about an hour to give you another quick update on what to expect. Let me make sure I just don't have any more. Hey, George, my AccuWeather said snow was stopping at 10:59, but it definitely wasn't snowing. A bunch of folks. Yeah, so what happened this morning, Laquina, is it actually was snowing, but before it could reach the ground, it was evaporating in the upper layers of the atmosphere because it was so dry. So technically, the radars were correct, but it just didn't fall all the way down to the ground. Jeremy Thornton says he sees the snow beginning or being more than you're predicting right now. I'm thinking a big majority will see 3 to 4 inches. Jeremy, I hope you are right and I'm wrong. I would love to see more snow. I'm a big snow lover. But for now, this is what the data is giving us and what the current setup is. And of course, I'll update you guys if anything changes. Again, we'll have to end this video. All of our information is throughout the video. So if you have or just now tuning in, you can go back and watch at any of your convenience. That's all the next update here in about an hour. Stay safe and stay warm, Kentucky. I appreciate you guys.